This team is well ahead of where they were supposed to be. Coming into this season, the Colorado Avalanche not picked to make the playoffs by anybody other than diehard Colorado Avalanche fans, who the rest of us said we admire the spirit. They were right. And the scary thing is, really, they should get better next year, and they could get a lot better fast. Now, my one issue when I look at this roster is they need that veteran presence up front. This is a very young team, and I think they could stand to add somebody this summer, and they've got a lot of space to do it. I'm going to start with that. If the cap's $80 million next year, this team right now has $30 million in space. $30 million. That's insane. But it's because they've got so many guys on entry level and small contracts. McKinnon's at $6.3 million for 5 more years. Coming into this year, we could all agree he was overpaid. Coming out of this year, we can all agree that he's underpaid. What is Nathan MacKinnon? Is he the MVP we saw this year, or is he the underachiever, or is he in between? My guess is he's going to be in between from here on. I don't project that he's going to drop by a lot, but I think that while he's an excellent forward, and I think he's going to be a point per game guy from here going forward, I think this was a career year for him. This was a prove it year. He came in and he played like he had something to prove right from the beginning. Gabriel Landeskog, $5.571 million for 3 more years before he's unrestricted, and he's playing like he has something to prove as well. Carl Soderberg, $4.75 million for 2 more years, and then he's UFA at the end of that. When they signed Soderberg at that price, I thought that was too much, coming from a Boston fan. But the thing is, when you got this much cap space, what's one iffy contract? Which brings me to Colin Wilson at $3.937 million for 1 more year before he's UFA. He did not play up to that contract in Colorado. But again, it's one of those things that Colorado really has a bunch of cap space, so it's fine. Como, UFA, may re-sign. If he does, he's not going to eat up a lot of that cap space. Andrighetto's got 1 more year left at $1.4 million, and then he's a restricted free agent with arbitration rights. So Andrighetto may pick up his game this year, based on the fact that he has 1 year left. That contract year, players often play better. Matt Nieto is restricted free agent with arbitration rights. Nieto's not going to get a whole bunch of more money. Toninato, $925K for 1 more year. He's RFA after that. Kerfoot, $925K, 1 more year. Compher, $925K, 1 more year. Rantanen, $894K, 1 more year. Jost, $885K for 2 more years. Yakupov's a restricted free agent with arbitration rights. I think they'll just let him go. Everybody wants to cheer for Yakupov as the underdog story now that he's kind of a discarded number 1 draft pick. But I don't see what he brings to a bottom 6, and I don't see him as a top 6 forward. So I think Colorado will make the smart decision and let him go. Hamenev, $833K for 1 more year. So Kerfoot, Compher, Rantanen, Jost, and Hamenev, that's 5 forwards for about, $4 million? Less than $4 million? And you wonder why I'm looking at Colorado and saying they could get better. Gabriel Bork is UFA this summer. And then on the blue line, you've got Johnson for $6 million till 2022-2023. Tyson Barrie has 2 more years left at $5.5 million. Zadorov has 1 more year at $2.15 million. Then he's restricted free agent with arbitration rights. And the way he's played, I think he'll get a raise. I don't know how much. They don't really have to worry about it this year, though, do they? Nemeth is restricted free agent this summer with arbitration rights, and Nemeth had a great year. Patrick Nemeth, if he was still in Dallas, he would be getting hardly any raise, if any at all. And the way he played in Colorado and then in the playoffs as well, yeah, he's going to get a raise. I would imagine that Joe Sakic will sit down and have a talk with him, and they'll talk it out before arbitration. Barbario's UFA, I think they probably let him go. Siemens restricted free agent with arbitration rights. I think they'll give him a qualifying offer, and they'll sit down and talk to him and get him signed on the cheap. Gerard, 2 more years at $728,000. It's not fair. It's not fair to have this many guys on your roster on entry-level contracts. I mean, it does mean that there's an apocalypse coming where all of these guys are going to be due at once. And Joe Sakic could be, as soon as next summer, trying to figure out who's worth what. And who's going to get paid more than who. And that can be tricky. But he doesn't have to worry about it yet. Lindholm, $717K for 1 more year. Warsawski, $675K. Alt's UFA this summer. He's not an NHL level guy anyways. At best, he's a number 7 when you've got injuries. Varlamov has 1 more year at $5.9 million, and then he's UFA, and this is where things get interesting. So Semyon Varlamov is injury prone, and Bernier and Hammond are both UFAs this summer. Bernier I could see coming back, but Varlamov and Bernier, while that's a decent stopgap, if this team's going to take a step forward, they don't have that workhorse, that Marc-Andre Fleury type goaltender. And I know Marc-Andre Fleury got injured this year as well. My point is that he's still in the playoffs and he's playing really, really well. And they need a guy who can play 55, 60 games in a season. And I don't know that Varlamov can do that. I don't know that he could stay healthy long enough. And then the other problem is when you look at the numbers, just the sheer numbers, Varlamov and Bernier have both been, at best, average. Average, a little above average. They're good, but they're not fantastic. And Colorado has got home runs with their contracts on forwards and on the blue line, and then in net. Like, is Spencer Martin going to be the answer? He's 22 years of age. He's been in their system a while. I don't think so, but he wouldn't be the first goaltender to come out of nowhere and wind up with a pretty decent run as a goaltender in the NHL. On the blue line, you've got Milosh could come in and play some games this year, and Timmins on the blue line who's coming out of junior. And then AJ Greer played some games up front. I would imagine that he'll graduate full-time. He's more bottom six than anything else. But there are some half-decent guys in this pipeline. They put everybody on the roster this year and said we're going with the kids. That $30 million in cap space means that if there's somebody who's trying to unload a goaltender for financial reasons, Colorado's where you park them. At least for a year. The thing is that $30 million in cap space could get eaten up pretty quick next summer, depending on the seasons that are had by guys like Kerfoot, Comfort, Rantanen. Gerard's up in 2 years, and of course Zadorov next summer. A lot of that money could get eaten up. Now the cap could go up again next year. It could drop next year. We just don't know, so I don't want to get into too much speculation with that. But for this coming season, they look really solid. To me, the only thing that I would be concerned with if I was Colorado, other than the negotiations with these players and making sure they get done quickly, and making sure that any holes in the roster that you may have from guys like Como, Bork, Barbario leaving are filled by veteran presence, or a veteran presence up front and on the blue line. I would look at the goaltending. I would take a long, hard look at the goaltending and say, what is Semyon Varlamov worth? Should we bank on him being our starter for a long period of time, or should we try to improve that part of our team? Colorado is in a situation where they really shouldn't fall back next year. And there's going to be people who pick them to fall back. They really shouldn't. Unlike the last time they made the playoffs, this time looks a little more permanent. And really, honestly, the only thing stopping them, in my eyes, from becoming a top contender and putting another team in that central list of, wow, these teams are really, really good. And there are a number of central teams that look pretty darn good, is that goaltending. And we'll see what they do with it. We'll see what Joe Sakic does this summer. He's got some moves to make, and he's got the money to make those moves. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. What do you think the team's going to do? Who do you think they might add? Could they end up adding a John Carlson on this blue line and making it one of the better blue lines in the West? Do they take a run at Tavares, even though they've got a ton of forwards? Because they go, well, we got cap space. And could they end up signing a couple of the like a JVR type, and maybe a lesser, maybe, Green's going to command a lower price tag than Carlson, I would think. Free agency can be strange though. And does that mean that we see Colorado aim for a couple of lower price guys, thinking long term about how much it's going to cost to re-sign the kids? A lot of questions for Sakic this summer. We'll see what he does. We'll see what Colorado does in the upcoming season, but it looks pretty darn good. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.